Wherever I look around BookTube these days, I keep seeing these videos about hyped up books. Are they worth the hype? And honestly, it never really appealed to me to even watch these videos, and then I started watching some of them last night, and I thought, yes, this is the type of video that I should be doing. And I'm very excited about this because I am someone who very seldom, incredibly rarely, do I ever, if ever, jump on a hype train. But one thing I can do is talk about books that are seemingly hyped up and give you my opinion on whether or not I believe they are worth the hype. Very quick disclaimer here, of course, these are my opinions. No two readers are exactly the same. I will, if I don't believe it's worth the hype, or if I do believe it's worth the hype, I will give you at least one example or reason why I think that is the case to help you to formulate your own decision on whether or not it's still worth reading the book. But let's jump right on in. Before I do, I'm going to leave the link in the description below of where I'm finding my list. It's come up on Goodreads called the Hyped Up Books section, and I'm literally only going to discuss books in the order that they've come up for as long as we have books that I've actually read. If I have not read the book, I'm not going to waste my time because, yeah, I could be talking about more books if I don't include them. So, the first book on this list, I don't know if this is in chronological order, but if this is the first one on the list, like if this is the highest hyped up book that I actually have read, then I'm going to start off telling you it is not worth the hype at all. Is this book, Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Okay, here's your asterisk. If you are a character-driven reader, you may love this book. I am not only a plot-driven reader, but if I see a premise of a book, I do not want to wait to get to the 3/4 mark for that premise to finally start happening. And that's what you get with Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. The basic premise of it, from what I remember, is we follow all these different characters, it's a multi-perspective, who are trying to pull off the impossible heist. They don't even begin to try and pull off this impossible heist until 3/4 of the way through the book, and I don't remember how long it is, but it might as well be a 500-page book. It made me incredibly wary of Leigh Bardugo from then on moving forward. So, is it worth the hype for me? No. If you're a character-driven reader, however, you may like it, but if you're a plot-driven reader like me, it is not worth the hype. Save yourself the pain. The next one. Okay, so I'm going to condense 3 books into one series and just talk about it as a series. The Hunger Games. So we have The Hunger Games, Book 1, Catching Fire, Book 2, Mockingjay, Book 3, all of them by Suzanne Collins, all of them adult dystopians. Okay. Hunger Games, Book 1, yes, absolutely is worth the hype. It is something very different to show up in a dystopian book series. I had not not seen any of the films prior to reading the books, and I'm glad. I don't know how I missed the films, but I'm glad I did, because I went in not knowing anything, and I don't want you to know anything either. If you love your dystopians, read Book 1, try not to get any spoilers, and take it from there. Book 1, I gave 5 stars. Book 2, Catching Fire, I gave 4 stars. There was a twist that occurred that annoyed me because I was hoping for something in Book 2 and that twist didn't allow for it. But once I got on board with that twist, I did love Book 2. And Book 3 was a massive letdown. Oh my goodness. It actually became known as the book we no longer talk about on this channel. If you go back and watch, it's one of my bookshelf tours. I literally have Mockingjay in the bookshelf, and I'm showing it, and I say, and the book we no longer talk about on this channel, Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. Yeah, so anyway, those are my thoughts. I do think you should go into it if you love your dystopians. It's a fantastic dystopian series. I just didn't like Book 3, but Book 1 is absolutely worth the hype. Divergent by Veronica Roth. Yes, yes, a million times yes. If I could hype even more any of the books on this series, I would hype Divergent. Here's my selling point for you, because it was definitely one for me. If you love in the Harry Potter series how there are houses like Gryffindor and Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw and Slytherin, if you love those houses, Imagine having those houses as actual districts, or, well, they're called rather factions, in a state in America set in the future. Then you have Divergent. I think there are about, don't quote me, I think there's like 7 factions that are in this state, in this particular Divergent world. And yeah, they all come with different cultures, just like the houses do in Hogwarts. And it's such a fun read. I loved Divergent. I liked Insurgent, book 2, and I really did not like Allegiant, book 3. I loved book 4, which is called Four, F-O-U-R. I loved that one. That's more of a book 1 retelling from the perspective of the male love interest, whose name is Four. So yeah, there you go. But absolutely, even if you only read book 1 as a standalone, I highly recommend Divergent by Veronica Roth. It is absolutely worth the hype. You need to read it, and if you don't want to read it, watch the film. The book is much more, there's much more information in the book, because obviously, you know, they're restricted with time and stuff when it came to the film. So watch the film to give you an idea. The bones are there in the film, but there's a lot more information to glean from the first book, and it was fantastic. All right, next one. City of Bones, which is book 1 in the Mortal Instruments series. I say yes. I actually went into this book because I knew there was a lot of, Cassandra Clare, the author, was a very polarizing author. Some people absolutely loved her. Some people absolutely really do not like her at all. And so I literally went into City of Bones thinking, I'll read this, and if I don't like it, I can do a rant review on it. And I ended up giving it 5 stars. I really loved it. Now, I actually came into reading the Mortal Instruments series, of which City of Bones is book 1, having seen the entire TV show Shadowhunters series. I love Shadowhunters, so I think that helped me. But one thing that I will tell you that may not be worth the hype train for you for the series as a whole is, it is a fantasy series. But if you love your fantasy to not allow romance to get in the way of the fantasy, then maybe the series as a whole is not for you. There will be many times throughout the course of this series where Cassandra Clare has these characters being set up to go off and do some huge thing that they need to do, and it is, you know, very, you know, time is a big thing, we got to go and do it now, but oh, wait, we now need 2 chapters to stare into the main character's beautiful golden eyes before we go off and do this timely manner thing, because the romance has to be there as well. So if you're not someone that likes to see romance get in the way of your fantasy, that may annoy you, but I actually really liked book 1, and there's an epilogue in book 1, and I love epilogues as well. So based on it being book 1 that is hyped up, I do recommend it. I think it is worth the hype, yes. The next one is Cinder, which is book number 1 in the Lunar Chronicles series by Marissa Meyer. How much time do you have? The short answer is, in my opinion, no, it is not worth the hype. I should have warned you all at the beginning. Miss Francy's going to get emotional with these. Because, I mean, it's about the hype, right? Like, is it worth it? Is it not? And I'm passionate about whether it is or not. Okay, so I seriously did everything that I needed to do just to get the book in my hands, because I couldn't find this anywhere in Australia. So it's not like in America where you can just waltz into a bookstore or waltz into a library and borrow Cinder by Marissa Meyer. I had to get this book shipped to me from the US, and at the time when I purchased it, it was not available on Amazon. So I had to find some bookstore in America that was willing to send it to me. Is this giving you some sort of idea of how much of a hassle it was to get this book? But the hype, I fell for the hype big time. I thought this is going to be amazing. Everyone says it's amazing. And it just wasn't for me. It's not worth the hype, in my opinion. The basic setup of the series as a whole is that they are fairy tale retellings. Each book, it tells a different fairy tale, and book 1, Cinder, is naturally based off of the title. You can probably ascertain. It's a retelling of Cinderella, but it's done in a sci-fi way. I didn't like it. I found the book to be incredibly monotone and was very disappointed with the lengths that I went to just to get the book and then to read it and be disappointed by it. So I say it's absolutely not worth the hype, and give it a go. But yeah, I found it very monotone. If you don't like monotone type reads, then I would skip this one. Okay, the Harry Potter books come up in different places on this list spread out. So I'm just going to address Harry Potter as a series as a whole. Is the Harry Potter series as a whole worth the hype? Yes, in my opinion, absolutely it is. Harry Potter is obviously a very well-known series for good and sadly recently bad reasons as well. But I think that the series is fantastic. I think that J.K. Rowling absolutely just took fantasy to a different level, broke some boundaries and just, yeah, created something fantastic that I had never seen before in books, and obviously many people were turned onto or turned back onto reading thanks to the series. So regardless of what you think of J.K. Rowling and that whole scandal that's going on, you can't deny the books are amazing. Many people read or would go back into reading because of the series, and there is a reason behind that. The main reason I think this is the case, and the hype as a whole, is we follow our protagonist Harry Potter, who in book 1, very early on, so it's not a spoiler, learns that he is a wizard. He has been a human his whole life, so he knows nothing about the wizarding world, which is a world that exists within our own world. So he ends up going to a school called Hogwarts to learn witchcraft and wizardry. And so we get to learn alongside him for the first time, at least in book 1, what is the wizarding world about? What can we learn at this magical school? I referred to the houses earlier. We deal with the whole Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, Slytherin thing. And Harry also is connected to an evil being, and that, you know, is part of the story as well. So there you go. There's a lot of reasons why the Harry Potter series is hyped up, and I do agree with the hype. I thought Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, which is book number 6, was okay. I gave it 4 stars, but it's my least favourite in the series. I won't say why because it'll be a spoiler, but other than that, I loved every single one of them and gave all the others 5 stars. So yes, worth the hype in my opinion, Harry Potter. The Lightning Thief, which is book number 1 in Percy Jackson and the Olympians series by Rick Riordan. Okay, I need to give you a backstory, and I know it takes time to do so, but trust me, it's worth it, and I'll be as brief as I can. In chronological reading order for me, I first picked up Heroes of Olympus, The Lost Hero, and then, after reading that book, which is that is book 1 in a series, and that is a spin-off series to the original series, which is the Percy Jackson series, and The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan is book 1 in the original Percy Jackson series. So I read Heroes of Olympus, The Lost Hero first, loved that book so much and thought it was a standalone, was thrilled to find out that there was more books in that series, then was thrilled to find out it's actually a spin-off, so went back to read the original series, and because of this, I believe, was highly let down by The Lightning Thief. Because to me, I loved Heroes of Olympus, The Lost Hero, and it was written so much later than The Lightning Thief. So I understand that. Rick Riordan grew as an author over time. But for me, it was unfortunate that I read one of his later works first, loved that, and then by comparison was extremely disappointed with The Lightning Thief. Here's the only selling point I can give you for either series. If you are into Greek and Roman mythology, or love the idea of Greek and or Roman mythology being intertwined into a series, a fantasy series, then I do recommend the series to you. If you are not a fan of Greek and Roman mythology, then I say skip the series. There are good things about the series, both the Percy Jackson and the Heroes of Olympus series. Good things and bad things about the series. So I end up reading the first 3 books in the Heroes of Olympus series before DNFing, and then I read the first 2, I think, maybe 3. No, 2. 2 books in the Percy Jackson series and then DNF that one as well. So if that helps, there you go. Eragon, the book 1 in the Inheritance Cycle series by Christopher Paolini. Here's an unpopular opinion for all you hypers out there, is not worth the hype. In my opinion, a lot of people love this book, and that's why it is hyped up, because a lot of people do love it. Look, if you love dragons, then I highly recommend it, because as you can see with the cover, you have a dragon on there, and the cover is not misleading. The main theme of this book, it's a fantasy series. The main theme of book one, and I've only read book one, I have not read the rest of the series. The main theme of book one is to do with a dragon. So if you love dragons, read it. I think you might enjoy it, but it just wasn't for me at the end of the day. So I very quickly am going to say not worth the hype, and I did not continue on with the series. Twilight by Stephanie Meyer, book one in the Twilight Saga series. Here's another unpopular opinion for you. Was definitely worth the hype. I need to hype up this book more than it is currently, because when it first came out, it was very hyped because it was new. It was a whole vampire thing that was going on. And for those of you who don't know, Twilight follows three main characters. One is a human, one is a vampire, one is a werewolf. I won't say more than that, but just know that there's a lot about vampire lore that you learn and a lot about werewolf lore that you learn. If neither or both of those interest you, then Twilight Saga may not be for you. But I'll explain why I believe it absolutely 100% is worth the hype. So I read these books when they first came out and I loved them. And then 10 years later, which would have been about 2 or 3 years ago, I picked up book one after having been on BookTube for however long I had been, because I wanted to reread book one and give constructive criticism in the form of a review for it. After I got through chapter 1 of book one, that critic hat came flying off my head, and the world evaporated around me, and I was just lost in this book and along for the amazing ride. Stephanie Meyer, to me, writes in such an intriguing, inviting, enticing way that it was so hard for me to critique, I should say, whether it was positive or negative, critique the book in any way, because it's just such a fun read. So I say it is 100% worth the hype. Do you watch the movies or not? Well, take it or leave it. Really, at the end of the day, it's fine. I did. As I went through my reread, let's say 10 years later or whenever it was, I read book one, then watched film one, read book two, watched film two, so on and so forth. But yeah, I think book one is absolutely worth the hype. As for the series as a whole, I think it's worth the hype as well. Along the way, we do get angsty Bella, who is the main character at some point that I didn't like, but it's understandable why she is. But honestly, not only book one, but the majority of the saga is 100% worth the hype. If you want to learn more about vampire lore or werewolf lore or both, if they intrigue you, definitely pick up Twilight book one and see how you go with it. And if you like it, continue on with more. I have not read Midnight Sun yet. I plan to do it one day in the future, but I love the series as a whole. Absolutely worth the hype. The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, book number one in the Inheritance Games series. I'm going to give you another unpopular opinion. This is not worth the hype in my opinion. Granted, I did not go into this book for the hype. As I say, I seldom go into a book for its hype anyway. If a book is way too hyped up, in my opinion, it turns me off from wanting to read it. I went into this book purely for the title. Maybe that was my biggest mistake. I did not read the premise. I didn't want to know what it was about. I like going into books blind. I read the title, The Inheritance Games, and thought it was going to be, it's a YA, so I thought all these teenagers will compete in a bunch of games, and the winner will get an inheritance. Boy, was I wrong. If that's what you think it's going to be about, no. The inheritor is determined before the book starts. The inheritance is given at the end of chapter 1, and then the inheritor ends up inheriting a mansion and finds things along the way throughout the mansion, and because it wasn't what I wanted, it bored me. Not what I wanted, but because it wasn't what I thought it was going to be just based purely on the title, which is my fault. I should have read the premise. It just bored me. It did not work for me at all. So for me, it's not worth the hype, but then again, I should do more research into what actually is hyped up about this book. If it is the secret things that she finds in the mansion, then no, it's not worth the hype, because yes, she finds secret things in the mansion, but it was boring in my opinion, so I don't think that's worth the hype. But yeah, I'm going to say overall, no, it's not worth the hype. Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston is 100% worth the hype. Okay, if you're looking for a male romance to read, this is a great one to read. We follow the perspective, I think it's singular perspective. Okay, so yes, it is a singular perspective. We follow two guys who are both famous by birth. Alex is the son of the president and Henry is the grandson of the queen. And McQuiston chooses to follow Alex. That is not a spoiler because it's a writing style choice, not a plot spoiler. This kind of annoyed me a little bit because I would have liked to have also seen Henry's perspective. But in saying that, oh my goodness, it was an emotional read for me. There is letter writing that occurs in the book and that was done incredibly well. There are realistic polarities with LGBTIQ plus issues, which I really appreciated. All in all, I found the book to be absolutely fantastic. Yes, it is 100% worth the hype. If you're looking for a male read, read Red, White and Royal Blue. It was fantastic and worth every moment of hype. Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. I still don't know how to pronounce her name. This is book 1 in the Simon Snow series. And this book, in my opinion, is 100% not worth the hype. I don't know how this book got hyped up post readers reading it. This is one of those books that it sounds amazing with the premise, and then, in my opinion again, you read the book and you go, oh wow, it was an amazing premise, but boy did it fail in execution. So I then was turned immediately off of Rainbow Rowell. She became an auto not by author for me, based purely on this book. So the setup, which admittedly does sound amazing, is it's a male fantasy. So we have these two guys who go to a magic boarding school. So very much imagine Hogwarts in Harry Potter, but a male setting where these two guys end up boarding together at the school and they fall in love. And admittedly, the male contemporary aspects were done well. There were some things that were raised that I really appreciated, and I ended up giving the book 3 stars based purely on the romance contemporary male side of things. But on the fantasy side, I could not have been any more let down, and I'll tell you why. I'm just going to tell you what the magic system is, and that is all. So if you don't want to know that, skip ahead 10 seconds, but here is what it is. You point your wand at whatever it is, and you say a nursery rhyme, of all things. So an evil person comes about, you point your wand at them, and you say, "Ladybird, ladybird, fly away home, your house is on fire, your children are gone." I was so disappointed. Yes, it's original, but sometimes originality for the sake of originality is not a good thing. Originality, when it is done well and it is amazing and quite an enticing read, is a good thing, but originality just for the sake of originality is not good. And even though this magic system is an original magic system, there are aspects of the magic system that are completely unoriginal, which in turn kind of makes it an unoriginal magic system, if that makes sense. So all in all, just to condense it down for you, absolutely not worth the hype. I did not continue on with the book. I did not continue on with the series. Oh, here's an unpopular opinion. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. I know that the word is cursed, but for some reason, I can't say that title as Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. It always just comes out as Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. But anyway, letting that go. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, here is my unpopular opinion, which is an extremely, ask any Harry Potter fan and they're bound to give you an opposite opinion to me. Unpopular opinion. Yes, it's worth the hype, in my opinion. When everyone else seems to tell me, no, this is horrible, it's not canonical, which I don't debate that. I don't think it is canonical. J.K. Rowling did put her name to it, but she didn't write the book. Here's the deal, for those of you who don't know. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is a play that was written after all the canonical works in the Harry Potter series to give more information, mainly about the next generation. I wanted to read this book purely for that reason. I had done, I think, my third binge of the Harry Potter series since starting BookTube, and I wanted more Harry Potter. I wasn't being critical, I just wanted more. So because of that, I picked up Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and I liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I do think it's worth the hype, but go into the book just wanting more Harry Potter. Don't go into the book with a critical mind, because if you do, then you probably won't think it's worth the hype. But go into it thinking, I want more Harry Potter and anything will do, pick up Cursed Child and you'll enjoy it, because I found it to be a whole lot of fun. So unpopular opinion, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, in my opinion, yes, is worth the hype. The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins is an adult thriller, and I don't think it was worth the hype, honestly. It took me quite a bit to get into. I read this book very early on in my BookTube career. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't remember a lot about it, but I do remember that I did not enjoy my time with the book. I don't think it was a thriller. I don't think it was that thrilling as far as I was concerned. So just long story short, I don't think it was worth the hype. 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. Okay, this book has been adapted into a TV series that has a lot of scandal and drama associated with it by people who think that it does the wrong thing. So I'm very quickly going to make the point that I'm talking about the book here, not the TV series, but I have seen the entire TV series, and my opinion is I think it is a great series. But I'm just going to talk about the book, which is the original canonical work by Jay Asher. Is it worth the hype? 100% it is worth the hype. Okay, so the basic premise is that we follow a man by the name of Clay Jensen, who he's a high schooler. He comes home one day from school to find a shoebox with audio cassette tapes in it. He puts the first cassette tape in and he hears the voice of a girl named Hannah Baker, who is dead. Now, she is dead, and I don't know what I can say on YouTube because we're blocked from saying certain words, but she caused her own death. Can I say it that way? You know what I'm saying. The S word. The word that starts with S where you cause your own death that you can't say on YouTube. That thing. So Hannah did that. And on these tapes, she is explaining the 13 reasons why she did. Okay, so people have said that the show glamorizes that S word. I'm not going to get into that debate. For me, the show, as well as the book, I treated it as a mystery. I do think because there are trigger warnings, you need to be mature enough to read the book. Do not give this book to a child. Do not show the series to a child unless you're there and can explain to them and answer all questions to them. But as far as an adult picking up this YA book, go into it for the mystery of the she's now dead. Why did it happen? Let's try and solve this mystery. And I think you will enjoy it. Yes, it is absolutely worth the hype. It was fantastic. I wish there wasn't as much drama surrounding the series, the TV series, as there is. I wish Jay Asher would have written a book 2 in the series, but Jay Asher has gone on record as saying book 1 was hard enough psychologically to write, and he will not be writing any more in the series. Fair enough, I understand that. But yes, 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher is absolutely worth the hype. The Selection by Kiera Cass is book 1 in the Selection series. Yes, it's worth the hype. Do not judge a book by its cover is the best saying I can give you when it comes to this series. All of the books... Every single book in this series has a woman in a ball gown on the cover, which makes it seem like it's a really cute, lovely romance, but it's not. This is a dystopian series set in a world where there is a class/caste system that also, among other things, involves kind of a bachelor situation with the prince, where everyone is but a certain number of people from each district are chosen to take part in this bachelor situation. The winner will become princess or queen when he becomes king, and the dystopian series for the dystopian aspects are absolutely fantastic. I fell in love with Kiera Cass from this first book, The Selection, book 1 in the Selection series, after reading it. So yes, worth the hype. To All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han. I'm just going to go through this quickly. By Jenny Han, no, I don't think it is worth the hype. Let's see if there's anything else. Breaking Dawn, book number 4 in the Twilight saga by Stephanie Myers is, I do believe, worth the hype. Legend by Mari Liu is worth the hype. Skyward by Brandon Sanderson is worth the hype, but I did not like books 2 or 3, but I did like book 1. And I'll end with Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This book is worth the hype 100%. Please read the book, it's fantastic. I did not like books 2 or 3, but I loved book 1. Okay, that's where we're going to leave it because we've run out of time now. I hope I've given you enough books, but if you have other hyped up books you'd love to hear my opinion on if I've read them, I'm more than happy to tell you my unfiltered opinions. What are your opinions on these books? Let me know in the comment section below. Readers are not a monolith, so if you disagree with me, please do sound off in the comments below. And if you agree with me, please do feel free to sound off in the comments below. But in the meantime, that is where I am going to leave it, letting you all go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. And until next time, happy reading. Bye everyone.